At Chase, we celebrate the spirit of the American people.
Your name? Andropovich. Occupation?
They were tired. They were poor. They came from many lands, represented many cultures. Nearly half of our ancestors arrived at Ellis Island, which for us at Chase is a constant symbol of hope and opportunity. Chase reminds you that when we celebrate America, we celebrate the courage of the generations before us.
This weekend, the Super Sale. Dome Center. TV, stereos, VCRs. Nintendo, $12. Leather jackets, $79. Kicker boxes, $50. Tires, $25. Televisions, $49. Super. The Super Sale. Nike, Fila, Reebok, $29. Mattresses, $28. Pool tables, hot tubs and spas. Sewing machines, jewelry, toys, tools, books, fashions, guitars. Dome Center. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The Super Sale.
This is a News Source 13 update. The 92 Vote with Don Alhart.
We are here now along with pollster Gordon Black to bring you up to the date on all of the numbers. We're going to move through some of them very quickly, but pop in whenever you have an observation you want to pass along, because we want to share some of those observations, but also give you at home some of the numbers. Very quickly, by the way, the Monroe County Legislature, it appears, will be in Republican control. More on that from Wanda Miller in just a moment. Let's take a look now at the race for U.S. Senate. Well, it's gone, but we looked very quickly at it. Al D'Amato, though, statewide, apparently is going to retain that seat. We'll get back to that one. In the race for Congress in the 27th District, Bill Paxton over Doug Call at this point. In the congressional race for the 27th District, we see there. Talk a little bit, I guess, while we're waiting for that, about the U.S. Senate one, if we could, because Al D'Amato and Abrams, it was very close. We still have more figures to go on that, but at this point, it looks like D'Amato's going to do it.
It's a real upset. I mean, in the fact that from the beginning of this race, it appeared that D'Amato was a very vulnerable candidate because of charges having to do with ethics against him. His negatives at the outset of the campaign were about as high as you could reasonably expect for any candidate to even have a chance of being reelected. At one point, went over 50% unfavorable in the polls. As the campaign wore on, the strategy of D'Amato was an unrelenting attack on the ethics of the Attorney General, first having to do with the issue of his campaign contributions, and then later having to do now with his tax practices.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to some of the races now. U.S. Congress in the 28th District, Louise Slaughter retaining her seat, or a new redistricting seat.
This is fairly interesting because this race is not as one-sided as most people would have expected it to be. Louise Slaughter was generally expected to go potentially over 60%. The district is redrawn to be more Democratic than it has been in the past. I think what you're going to see here is an encouragement for the Republicans to run strong candidates against her in the future, whereas she might have just sewed this up permanently.
Okay. In the 29th District, John LaFaltz, the incumbent, and retaining that seat, 54% of the vote. We want to move to State Senate now in the 53rd District, which should be coming up, and Michael Nozzolio with about almost 60% of the votes, well in command and a lead over James Foley. In the 54th State Senate District, Richard Dollinger, we're projecting now to take that one with 41% of the vote. About a third of the vote for Tracy Long, and Ralph Quattrocchi, the conservative who lost that Democratic primary, with 28% of the vote. So together about 59% for the two challengers. Mary Ellen Jones in the 55th District. Boy, this is a close one. We've got 95% of the vote in, though, so it looks like she may squeak by John Stanwix in that particular race.
Well, I think by a very narrow margin, it looks like she's going to. 3,000 votes with 5% left is not likely to be made up. Stanwix ran a very vigorous campaign. It was a fairly negative campaign. The campaign back at Stanwix was also a fairly negative campaign. I'm not sure that many people knew very much about where either one of them stood at the end of the race, except for some of the things that are against them.
Yeah, both serving on the county legislature, although Jones only since the beginning of this year. 61st State Senate District, John Daly, 92% of the vote to David Dean's 8%, and again, about 40% of the votes are in there. State Assembly races now, the 131st District, Susan John, again, the incumbent from Albany, about 56% of the vote over Tracy Local. In the 132nd Assembly District, we have 92% of the vote in now, and Joseph Morelli retaining the seat that he won last time around when Penny Cook did not run for re-election. Jim Hartman about 39% of the vote. 133rd, David Gant, 86% of the vote, well over his challenger, Mario Mazzullo. In the 134th State Assembly District, 97% of the vote in, Joseph Robach, the seat that was held by his father, and Henry Stewart, who actually ran against Roger Robach back in 1990, and now losing to father and son. 135th State Assembly District, James Alessi, 68% to Henry Mathias, 32%. In the 136th Assembly District, all of the votes in now, and Jerry Johnson is your winner there over Richard Walsh and James Nagel. In the 137th Assembly District, we've got 57% of the vote in, and Charles Nesbitt, the Republican, we're projecting to be the winner. I want to take a look at State Supreme Court now in the 7th District, and this is one we've been watching all night long, and we've got the top three as they stand right now, Gordon. Chuck Saragusa, who's been leading most of the night, Paul Kehoe, and it's been very, very close between Evelyn Frazee and the other challengers in that one. Certainly,
yeah, I think they're going to put up the other ones. It's still, I think, fairly close, but it appears that Nancy Peck is not going to be elected, and I think that's going to be a surprise to many Democrats who thought she would run a very strong campaign.
Yeah. Monroe County Court is our next race we're going to take a look at, and here Nancy Smith, 35%. Now, 2 out of the 3 will be elected here. So Charles Malloy, who was a veteran from city court and county court, and I believe way back on city council days, I remember Charlie being around. So we want to make note of that. The county legislative races are certainly ones that are important tonight, and as we have mentioned, there has been a shift. Wanda Miller will join her now in the newsroom and have her bring us up to date on exactly how all of that is going to shake out. Wanda?
Don, do your numbers jive with mine? I have 16 for the Republicans, 12 for the Democrats in the legislature, and 1 undecided. Happy days are here again for the Republicans in the Monroe County Legislature. Let's look at the races, and so far with these many precincts, districts reporting in, 93% in the 1st District, Peter McCann, 70% over Leon Zoglin. Dale Rath uncontested in the 2nd. William Kelly uncontested in the 3rd. Marcassini, 55%, William Gillette already conceding that race in the 4th, Republican. In the 5th, David Prada, Democrat, holding on 56% over Mark Cassetti. In the 6th, Frederick Amato, 58% over Carolyn Rapp. Max Streibel in the 7th over Thomas Brennan, 100% of the districts. Another 100%, Renee Davison, the Republican, 67% over John Vigiani, 33%. George Wiedemer, 100% uncontested. In the 10th District, Carol Ellis, a big win for the Republicans. With 100% of the districts, the Republican take this seat, 58% over Mary Warboys, 42%. In the 11th District, Peter Smeek, I think it is, 100% uncontested. In the 12th District, another big win for the Republicans. Carla Boyce, 56%, with 96% of the districts in over Joanne Ward, 44%. The 13th District, John Kelly, 53%, Republican. 14th District, Linda Goldstein, 59%, the Democrat in Brighton over Joyce McChesney, 41%. John Doyle over Bridget Shumway, another big win for the Republicans, with 97% of the districts reporting in 55 to 45. Peter Pecor, 16% over Nancy Seymour, 58% to 42%, with only 61% of the districts in. 17th, Arnold Ecker, the minority leader, 60% over Lisa Joseph, 40%, 100% of the districts. Michael Hanna wins the 16th, uncontested. In the 19th District, Alberger, 74% over Stuart Morgan's, 26%, Republican. 20th District, Pelletier over, let's see, help me out here, Renoletta, I guess it is, 29%. In the 21st, Nan Johnson, 62% over Mark Ogden. We had gotten this race late, but it appears with 74% of the districts in that Nan Johnson will hold on to her seat in the legislature. The 22nd, Ronnie Thomas, uncontested. Bill Monet, 75% over Mark Delaney, the Republican. Kevin Murray, majority president, was the majority president, 69% over Lita Relin, 31%. The 25th, Willie Lightfoot, 80% to 20% over George Wade. Phil Fedeli, now this is a close race, 74% of the district. In the 26th district race of the county legislature, 53% for Phil Fedeli over Nicholas Zimbalyatis, but it is very close at this point, and the Republicans are not going to concede this one yet. Tabelar, uncontested for another term, 27th District. John Erb, again, uncontested, 28th. And Charles Eber, 71% in the 29th over William Cruz. Again, the Democrats at this point seem to have lost the county legislature. We're looking at 16% for the Republicans to 12% for the Democrats, and I think one undecided. Back to you, Don.
Okay, Wanda Miller, and of course we want to get reaction now that the Monroe County Legislature is going to be controlled by the Republicans from the top Republican in Monroe County. Bob King, he's standing by now at Republican headquarters with Jenny Ryan.
An hour and a half ago we were talking, you had a wish, you wanted it to go Republican, the legislature, you have your wish, you picked up 3 seats. How do you feel, Bob?
Well, I'm just elated. I am not only happy for me, but I have to tell you I'm happy for the people of our county. We're going to now have a government that can work and not be log jammed by the very ugly politics of last spring that seemed to be the hallmark of the Democratic Party in the county legislature. And we'll do the things that I think the people elected me to do. So I'm very happy. We've got some great young people. And I say that not just because they're Republicans. These are bright, talented, articulate folks, and the people of our county will be very well served, and I'm very proud of them.
In complete Republican hands, how much of a factor did you have in this, Bob, and how much of a factor did what we call a not a very pretty session for the legislature in the last term?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I think that the people understood that what they saw in our county was not a fight over substance. It was just politics at its worst, and I think these results tonight reflect that.
Well, your job, as we said earlier, is going to be a lot easier now with Republican majority. Oh, yeah. Doug is standing by on the other side of the room with information on a very important race, a close one between John Stanwix and Mary Ellen Jones. Doug?
Jenny, the people behind me are watching the results come in, and they are, of course, heartened by what you were talking about, the county legislature. They are not, however, as encouraged about what's happening in some key state Senate races. It appears now that Richard Dollinger is going to win the one state Senate race, and as you mentioned, John Stanwix appears something of a surprise is going to go down in his race against Democrat Mary Ellen Jones, both county legislators trying to go to the state Senate. What it became was a lot of money from Albany. Fran Weisberg, the former Democratic Party chair here in Monroe County, in charge of state Senate races this year, apparently poured a lot of money into Mary Ellen Jones' campaign to defeat John Stanwix. It is very close at this point, but it appears that Weisberg's attempt was successful, that Mary Ellen Jones will defeat John Stanwix tonight.
Again, we're standing by at Republican headquarters. The Republican leader of our nation is now approaching the podium. President George Bush, of course, being defeated tonight, and his wife looking on. We now join ABC for his remarks.
When he comes to an event,
hey, listen, we got to get going.
The Secret Service comes in and hands you a 3x5 card. On it, it says, "Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States." And that's all they want you to say.
Hey.
Locally, Monroe County, Wayne County, Ontario County, Livingston County, Genesee County, Orleans County, all at this point voting for President Bush, but obviously he was not the victor nationwide. I want to look at a couple other factors I want to run through, because I know a lot of people, some of the races we don't pay attention to consistently. We want to get on the screen for you and at least let you know, and some of them are completed. In the race for the city school district, Jewel Gale Jones is your winner with 63% of the vote there. And in town council out in Arundequoit, we also have those figures to pass along. Dan Orelli is elected to the town council. In Ogden, for the highway superintendent, Ed Marianetti, 56% of the vote. And the village justice out in East Rochester, Ralph Morabito, with 51 to 49%, but we got 100% in, so that is the results of that. I want to talk a little bit about Ross Perot, because we've talked about this the other night. I think just a short while ago he made his concession speech. We interrupted it. He did a little dancing, played a little music. You were commenting earlier today at some comments that a speech you gave. It really, toward the end of the campaign, he began to wane a little bit, partially because of the impression he was making.
Well, you can say that he had 3 strikes against him. Strike number 1 was he pulled out of the election prematurely and with circumstances that were not entirely satisfactory to people, leaving a lot of people in the lurch. Strike number 2 was he put a vice presidential candidate on the ballot as a temporary measure, really required by law in many states, but with the idea that he would substitute somebody who was more presentable and more serious as a candidate. He didn't do that. And strike number 3 was the fact during the last week, while he was cresting at close to 20, 21, 22%, because of an enormously successful performance in the last debate, He cast some accusations that caused people to raise issues again about his character.
Okay, and again, as we said just a short while ago, Ross Perot conceding as well, and we'll share a few of those comments right now.
This is no time to get discouraged. This is no time to throw in the towel. This is the time to redouble our efforts and work with the new administration to make sure that our country is a beacon to the rest of the world, to make sure that our cities are alabaster cities that gleam undimmed by human tears, and to make sure that every little child across America is only limited by his or her dreams and their willingness to pay the price and make the effort to make those dreams come true. That's what America's all about.
And that's what Ross Perot is all about. And as you said, losing, but probably leaving a legacy that, and he's going to be a major party, right?
Well, this is the best. This is the strongest a third-party candidate has run since Teddy Roosevelt in 1912. He will be established as a political party in about 35 states. He will be able to run candidates for any level of office if he chooses to, and he's qualified for election funding from the federal election in 1996 if he wants to run as a political party. I mean, there's a formidable amount of accomplishment in this for Ross Perot if he decides he wants to move in that direction.
Okay. To Democratic headquarters now. Jane Flash is standing by, and we're going to see how things are reacting there, not only nationally. You kind of got a mixed bag of emotions in terms of celebrating what's going on nationally, but looking at the Monroe County legislature.
It certainly is, Don. What is definitely driving the positive emotions here is what's going on at the top of the national ticket. And a few moments ago, Congresswoman Louise Slaughter walked in with a landslide victory. That, too, brought a lot of cheers. But not all of the news is good news for local Democrats. Joining us now is Legislature President Kevin Murray. Kevin, you said just moments ago we have had better years. What do you mean by that?
Well, in the legislature we've had better years, but any year you win the presidency of the United States and 2 Senate seats in our area is good years for the Democratic Party. We have some disappointments in the county legislature. We felt there were some excellent candidates who lost this year, but that's the way it goes. We'll go on to passing a budget shortly and being the loyal opposition.
Since 1986, local Democrats really have had the momentum going with them throughout the county. What do you think happened this year?
Well, it's hard to say. We'll have to analyze it by districts tomorrow, but again, it was a mixed showing. We did very well, obviously winning the presidency. We did well winning 2 Senate seats, and the Assembly seats all remain Democratic that we've had. We didn't do as well in some of the county legislative seats as we would have liked.
Kevin, if I could get you to comment on one more thing. Bob King just said now county government can work. Could you comment on that quickly?
Well, we're going to be the loyal opposition. Obviously, we have to perform a watchdog function. I congratulate Mr. King in some of his victories, but we're going to keep an eye on him as we should.
Okay, thank you. That's Legislature President Kevin Murray. Now we go to Patrice Walsh, who has more, I believe, with Congresswoman Louise Slaughter.
We hope to bring in Louise. She's busy right now, but I did talk to her just a few minutes ago. She is excited, as you said, Jane, but she's tired. She says this was one of her toughest races. A negative campaign really run by Bill Polito. He says it wasn't, but most people do think that it was. But she's happy and glad that it's over. We haven't seen Mary Ellen Jones yet. We haven't seen Rick Dollinger, the apparent winners, of course, in the statewide races. But people in this room are excited. There is the mixed bag of emotions, though, because of the loss of power in the county legislature. Sam Colombo told me just a few minutes ago he's angry. He blames redistricting. He blames Kevin Murray. He says that this wasn't necessary, and he blames Kevin Murray for the loss of power in the legislature. He said there's going to be fireworks, and people are not going to be able to work together. That's where it is from here. Don?
Okay, Patrice Walsh with 13 Live, and we'll get back to you in just a few minutes as well. I want to talk a little bit about the legislature. John Stanwix, of course, is someone who has been in the county legislature for a number of years. We'll be moving on now. We're going to join him in just a moment. Well, I think we're going to join him right now, as a matter of fact. Standing by right now at Republican headquarters, and we see Doug Emmer's there.
John Stanwix is with me, Don, and Gordon. John Stanwix in a very close race with Mary Ellen Jones for the state Senate. Right now, you're down. Are you conceding yet?
Oh, absolutely not. There's about, they say, around 8,000 absentee ballots, and we're down by somewhere around 1,700 votes. So I think you're absolutely too close to call. There's no question about it.
So what do you do?
You wait, Doug. You just sit back and wait, and you know it's going to be tight. There's no question. We thought it would be tight in the beginning with all the money they spent against us. It was phenomenal.
You called this a grudge match on the part of Fran Weisberg, the former Democratic Party chair here.
Well, yeah, I think that we beat her last year when we beat Bob King, and she did everything she could to beat me this year. I mean, they pulled everything out. They probably spent over $350,000. We had no way of matching that kind of money, and we just tried to run the best race we could.
You're going to the podium now. What are you going to say?
I'll just say wait and see. Appreciate all the help everybody did. You know, politics is a very interesting game, and when it's this close to call, we're just going to have to wait on the absentee ballots.
Okay, John Stanwyck, thank you very much. John Stanwyck's going over the podium to talk now. He is not throwing in the towel yet, Don. 16 years in the county legislature, he made a bid for state senate. It may have fallen short.
Okay, and our latest figure is about 96% of the vote in, and 51% for Mary Ellen Jones, 49% for John Stanwyck. You see the figures on your screen there now. And again, that's about 96% of the vote that is in. I want to talk for just a moment. We're going to break and do some other news, come back and wrap up our election coverage. Bob King, what this means for him and his political career.
Well, I think that this is one of the most important things that could possibly happen for Bob King. During the spring of the year, when he was fighting with the legislature, we did 2 surveys on his popularity. It plummeted. The legislature plummeted to an all-time historic low, as far as I can tell. The fact now that he's going to have a pretty good majority on the county legislature means that there's going to be smooth sailing in the sense of the public relations and the visible presence of King and the legislature to the public. That's very important for Bob King if Bob King wants to have a career outside of
Some are more accountable, though, because no one to blame. You got the majority, you've got
what happens when you have the majority is that they'll deal with a lot of the issues that are contentious, but they'll deal with it outside of the light of publicity, and a lot of things will get settled up without the kind of acrimoniousness we saw all spring.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. We're going to take a short break right now and come back and bring you up to date on some of the other news of this day, and then our election coverage will continue as well with coverage of the 92 vote.
Something special's going on at the Chase Pitkin near you. A sale on Nautilus range hoods and bathroom fans, 20% off. Heavy gauge construction, quiet operation, decorator styles. Choose Nautilus and you'll save 20%. And introducing Armstrong installed ceilings by Chase Pitkin. Our service is fast, courteous, and guaranteed. Hire us, we'll take 15% off labor charges. Armstrong ceilings and Chase Pitkin, a winning combination.
Save, save, save.
So what are you going to trade it in on?
Oh, I don't know. There's so many vehicles to choose from. Any ideas?
Try your Ford dealer. They've got 5 of America's top 10 sellers.
Now get one of America's best. A loaded Ford Taurus for only $248 a month for 24 months with a red carpet lease. Just $248 a month for a new Ford Taurus. The only car in its class available with anti-lock brakes and dual airbags. See your local Ford dealer today.
Ford, huh? Might as well start with the leader.
Exactly.
This portion of News Source 13 is brought to you by the Dorschel Automotive Group.
Good evening. I'm Wanda Miller in the News Source 13 newsroom. Here's the latest news from News Source 13. For the 5th time in 2 years, police have found what they believe to be the remains of another human being in the same general area. Now, tonight, News Source 13 has learned that police have found the skeletal remains off Ontario Lake Parkway in the town of Hamlin. Officials and the medical examiner will be on the scene tomorrow morning to remove the remains and begin the identification process. In other news, a city teenager is clinging to life tonight after a shooting on Rochester's west side. It happened on Frost Avenue at around 9:30 tonight. Few details are available at this hour, but ambulance attendants tell us the 16-year-old victim has been rushed to Strong Memorial Hospital with 2 gunshot wounds to his head and chest. Tougher security measures are being imposed at the Schuyler County Office Building in Watkins Glen. The county legislature approved a $54,500 contract to have 2 sheriff's deputies permanently posted at the office building where 4 workers were shot to death last month. 4 child support collection workers were killed by an Ohio man who was angry over back child support payments. Since the murders, access to the building has been restricted to one entrance where deputies screen visitors with metal detectors. The Bush administration received a blow today on the abortion issue. A U.S. appeals court blocked further enforcement of the gag rule, the administration's ban on abortion counseling at federally funded clinics. The ruling means the clinics can continue to discuss abortion as an option for now. Those on both sides of the issue had reaction.
This is a new day for poor women who get health services at federally funded family planning clinics. It means they can have their answers to their questions honestly answered. And we are absolutely thrilled. The gag rule is over.
I don't know why we're surprised that these Jimmy Carter judges handed down this ruling on Election Day. It's no coincidence, and it's a political ruling.
Now, the court says the gag rule was improperly adopted because the public did not have enough opportunity to comment. If the United States ever goes to war again, women may not be allowed on the firing line. Today, a presidential commission released the findings of its study on women in the military. In it, the panel is recommending that women not take part in direct fighting on the ground. The panel says the decision was made based on the, quote, political consequences of assigning women to combat. But the commission is leaving open the possibility that jobs like combat engineering could be made available to women. Government forecasters are predicting that whomever wins today's elections will see slow economic growth over the next year. Figures released today by the Commerce Department show the index of leading economic indicators declined 0.3% in September. It's the third drop in 4 months, but analysts believe the nation will improve considerably during the next few years. The index forecasts economic activity 6 to 9 months in advance. Those who were unable to get to the polls on their own received a free ride today. National Ambulance provided free transportation to the physically challenged in Monroe County. Eileen Richards says the service is what enabled her to cast her ballot today.
It's very important. I mean, I wouldn't miss voting in the presidential election, especially.
National has been providing the free transportation service for the past 35 years. Well, this election year is being called the Year of the Woman, so it seems only fitting to remember a woman who made election history. 120 years ago, this raised more than a few eyebrows, a woman in line to cast her vote. That's because back then it was against the law for women to vote, but one woman broke that law to break historical ground.
Stuck again. And your name is? Susan B. Anthony.
Well, Susan B. Anthony is from Rochester. Her voting reenactment was done to remind everyone of the role we can all play in making history just by voting. Across the country today, ordinary buildings were turned into polling places, from libraries to school gymnasiums. But in San Francisco, voters cast their ballots among the dead. The Neptune Society Columbarium is where the urns containing the ashes of 1,500 people reside. This is the third time the Columbarium has offered its facilities to voters. Well, up next, if rain and cooler temperatures are ahead, Bill Peterson will have our complete forecast. And in sports, the Battle of the Pittsfords in soccer. Mike Catalana has highlights. Stay with us.
What do you do to celebrate being in the automobile business almost 50 years? Well, I'm Rick Dorschel with a special offer.
Like special Dorschel prices on two fabulous Oldsmobiles. The all-new Oldsmobile Achieva for only $229 per month with no down payment. Or the Sporty Cutlass Supreme for only $14,797. Both these great cars have the Oldsmobile Edge. Bumper-to-bumper protection for 3 years or 36,000 miles. At Western New York's #1 Oldsmobile dealer, Dorschel Oldsmobile. Home of the guaranteed low price. West Henrietta Road, half a mile south of Marketplace Mall.
Think smart. Think savings. Think lease. Now lease 1993 Mercury Sable Sedan or Sable Wagon for only $269 a month. Both offer the protection of standard dual airbags and available anti-lock brakes, which means this is one lease that can save you more than money. So think smart. Think lease. Think Sable. See your Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
Dear Dave, I asked this cool girl out, and she said yes. So I got a trim, a new shirt, and bought flowers, which left me with exactly not a lot of money. Dave, am I glad Wendy's has a super value menu. We got junior bacon cheeseburgers, Biggie fries, baked potatoes, Caesar side salad, and Biggie drinks. Everything was delicious and just 99 cents each. I think I'm in love, Tim.
Isn't love grand?
Hey, buddy! We got a violation here.
What's the charge, Sarge?
This encore lasagna, too much food,
too much Encore?
I can't finish those big helpings of delicious, meaty Encore lasagna by myself.
That's no crime. Encore's a 2-pound family-size entree.
I don't have a family.
You do now. Mine will be over at 5:30 tonight.
Al, listen, about this Encore veal parmesan.
6 tomorrow, you serve.
For tasting more, it's Encore.
It was a beautiful day today. We go now to Bill Peterson in the Weather Center. Bill?
Wanda, today was certainly a lot better than it was yesterday. Our high temperature today was 65 degrees after a low last night of 40. Compare that to the averages of 53 and 37. There you see the records. We missed it by quite a way. 74 degrees set back in 1938. As we look at our current conditions now, under mostly clear skies, our temperature is 58 degrees. Humidity 57%. Winds are from the south. Our pressure's rising and our dew point at 43 degrees. Temperatures around the Spider Network, you can see we do have temperatures now mainly in the 40s with some 50s showing up here. One in Spencerport at 53 degrees, Pavilion also at 53, Springwater 50, Cheshire at 53 degrees. But in through the city, temperatures have now dropped down into the 40s. Everybody did get up into the 60s today. Around the state, you can see again we have temperatures mainly in the 40s and 50s. 55 in Niagara Falls, 58 both at Buffalo and Rochester. It is cooler over at Syracuse at 44 degrees. And of course, as we put our national map in here, you can see there's a warm front that is just to the south of us. And again, that's bringing up some warmer moisture air along with some showers. So what we will see tonight will be increasing clouds. And during the day tomorrow, we'll see those clouds increase and thicken. We'll also see some rain showers develop. And this sort of is the leading edge, if you will, of some milder air for tomorrow, but then some very cold air comes in behind it. And what we will see with some colder air in here is our temperatures will continue to drop. That drop will not start tomorrow. Our temperatures will get up probably into the low 60s, but then the cold air moves this way. You can see a lot of snow back in through the central part of the country. That snow is going to move this way. Our temperatures will drop. We're not going to see any accumulation as when the snow does move through here, but what we will see will be some flurry activity, maybe a rain-snow mix as it does head this way. Our forecast then for tonight, calling for partly cloudy skies. Our low temperature will be 44 degrees. With light southwest winds. And then for tomorrow, as I said, we'll see those clouds really increase. We'll see some showers. There's a slight chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon, but I think rain will prevail. Our high temperature about 60 to 62 degrees. By 5 o'clock, it will drop back into the 50s. That rain will continue off and on tomorrow night, and then may continue, actually, I think, into Thursday morning. But then I think in the afternoon, we're going to get what we call a dry intrusion. So our skies will clear briefly, 45 degrees. On Friday, partly cloudy. Could see a flurry, mainly off the lake on Friday. Thursday night also a chance of maybe a snowflake or two. Saturday a mixture of sunshine and clouds. Now I have temperatures on Friday at 42 and Saturday at 44 degrees. They may be optimistic. I hope not, but I may have to drop those. We're going to look at it again. Glenn will be here in the morning to look at it. I'll look at it again tomorrow afternoon. May have to drop those into the upper 30s to low 40s, but at least we're in the neighborhood there. You can see it's going to really cool down for the weekend. Looks like it'll stay cold also then for Sunday. So we do have some major changes occurring in our weather patterns. Right now, I think there's a lot going on in sports. Let's go back to Wanda and Mike.
Thanks, Bill. Mike Catalano with sports.
We're going to talk a little high school sports tonight, Wanda. Sectional playoffs this evening in soccer. We're going to start things off with the Battle of Pittsford. It was the Class Double B semifinals, Mendon and Sutherland, and this was a good one. Second half of this one, John Gamitter here driving and shooting, but the goalie for Mendon, John Farback, makes the save. Later, Mendon's Frank Mendocino shoots, but goalie Dave Merrick is there for the save. This one went into overtime, and in the first OT, Matt Middleton of Sutherland with a long shot and the goal, and they made it stand up through the second overtime. Pittsford-Sutherland, the winner tonight as they move into the finals, beating Mendon in double OT 2-1. Aquinas, a winner in the other semifinals. They beat Brighton by a score of 3-1. How about Kendall and Holly meeting tonight in the Triple D Championship? Kendall's Jamie Unger here with the corner kick. Watch Matt Spall just get a hand on it, and this goes on top of the net, not in, to keep the game scoreless. Later, Holly's Josh Blaney driving. He'll shoot, but George Gerba comes up with the save. This one ended in a scoreless tie, so the teams are co-champs, but Holly did win in the shootout. That's a final from today, 0-0. So they're co-champs, but Holly wins in the shootout 3-1. So Holly moves on to the next round in the soccer playoffs. The Amherst sent 2 veterans to another team today. Joel Savage and Jason Winch have been reassigned to Fort Wayne of the International League. Former Amherst On the bench for the Islanders, Al Arbor tonight, watching his team stop Mario Lemieux and his 14-game scoring streak, but they couldn't stop the rest of the Pens. The rebound goal by Rick Tocchet here. And Pittsburgh goes on to shut out the Islanders tonight. The final on that one, 2-0. Tampa Bay beats St. Louis. Quebec and Hartford end up in a tie, and they play that Washington-Chicago game in Indianapolis. Washington wins it. And some baseball news. The Yankees traded Roberto Kelly to the Reds for outfielder Paul O'Neill, and Eric Karros of the Dodgers has been named the National League's Rookie of the Year. So, Wanda, that's it in sports.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Don Elhart and Gordon Black will be back with continued coverage of Election 92.
Something extraordinary is going on. Wall Street is moving. It's moving out of New York City all the way to Rochester, because Wall Street is moving to Citibank. At Citibank, you'll find expert investment consultants who make investing more manageable. They'll help you choose what's right for you from over 600 mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and money market funds. Because Wall Street is moving to Citibank.
If you're watching your budget like most families, Wegmans introduces a new way to save. Wegmans Big Pack Meats. You can now buy our quality meats in larger quantities and get up to 35% off regular per pound prices. Buy a little more, save a bundle for any size family. As much as 35%. These are the same high-quality Wegmans freshly cut, perfectly trimmed meats. Wegmans Big Pack Meats. More of the best for a whole lot less.
Everybody wants a battery that goes the distance, but you never know when they're about to run out of gas. Only Duracell has the Copper Top Battery Tester, so you can be sure your batteries will keep going down the road. You can't top the Copper Top.
Come to Tops Friendly Market for Duracell multi-pack alkaline batteries. D4, C4, and 9-volt 2-pack, only $3.49. Be sure you have fresh Duracell batteries in your radio before you go to the Bills game this week at Tops Friendly Market.
Enjoy the beautiful Hawaiian Islands plus the spectacle of the NFL Pro Bowl next February 1 through 8, courtesy of All Around Travel. Buffalo Bills defensive star Jeff Wright will be your host for this exciting week in Maui and Honolulu. Includes round-trip airfare on American Airlines, 4 nights at the Royal Lahaina Resort in Maui, 3 nights at the Waikiki Beachcomber in Honolulu, a pregame party, and ticket to the game. Call All Around Travel now at 436-1701 or 1-800-462-6461.
We are back. I want to bring you up to date on some of the races going on very quickly. The county legislature going back to the Republicans by a 16-13 at least. There's one race that's still very, very close to call. We want to take a look at the race for state Supreme Court, and in the 7th District, and this encompasses, of course, Monroe and a number of surrounding counties, about 7 counties in all. Charles Saragosa with 26% of the vote, Paul Kehoe 21%, and Evelyn Frazee 18%. 3 out of the 5 people running will be elected. And the first 3 that you saw on the screen a moment ago, Charles Saragosa, Evelyn Frazee, and Paul Kehoe are your victors. And Charles Saragosa standing by right now with Patrice Walsh at our Democratic headquarters. We'll go to her.
That's right, Don. Chuck ran last year, wasn't as successful, but he did win this year. A good win for you, a lower key campaign for you.
Yes, it's obviously very exciting. It's nicer to win, but as I said last year, I think you owe your success to all the people who really helped out, so I'm really grateful for all those people who helped me out in this campaign.
A lot of support. You didn't really do a lot of advertising, but people know you.
Well, I've been fortunate. In my time in the DA's office, I've had the opportunity to try some big cases, and I've worked hard, and I think people recognize that, and again, I'm just very fortunate to have won.
It's a gain for Supreme Court, but a loss for the DA's office, I'm sure.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. I've had 16 great years in the Monroe County DA's office, and I look forward, hopefully, to a very successful career as a judge.
A good win for you. Congratulations
Thank
to
you
you,
very
Chuck.
much. I appreciate
Better
it.
year this year for Chuck Saragosa. Don, back to you.
Okay, Patrice Walsh with Democratic headquarters, and Charles Saragosa. As we said, 3 were elected for that state Supreme Court: Charles Saragosa, Evelyn Frazee, and Paul Kehoe. But the women making really kind of pitching off against each other almost now, isn't they?
Well, I think that you've got Peck running last and you've got Frazee running third, but the difference between third and fourth is only about 7,000 votes. At this point, we have 61% of the vote counted. We don't know if the vote might be coming in from the outlying counties. If it's coming in from the outlying counties, then it may be enough to make a difference in this race. So the two people are far enough ahead to really call it at this point. But the third race is still up for grabs, and we'll not know until later in the evening.
Okay, we'll take a look now at the state senate in the 53rd district. Michael Mazzolio, your winner there. In the 54th state senate district, Richard Dollinger, 42% of the vote over Tracy Long and Ralph Quantichaki. In the 55th, Mary Ellen Jones and John Stanwicks. This one, Gordon, is going to really hinge on the absentee ballots, as we talked about before.
Well, it appears that Mary Ellen Jones is ahead, but there's apparently a substantial absentee ballot, and it might change. Probably not.
Okay, and in the 61st district, John Daly, your winner, 92% of the vote. Ginny Ryan standing by now at Republican headquarters, and we join her right now. Ginny?
Don, we're here with Steve Manerick, chairman of the Republican Party. Steve, you achieved everything you set out to do tonight. What was that?
Well, it was a great night for us. The county legislature was our #1 priority, make no mistake about it, and we achieved that in overwhelming numbers. We reversed a 16-13 minority to a 16-13 majority, and I'm very happy about that.
Steve, John Stanwyck still too close to call, but you said something very moving on the podium just now about why that was such a close race, referring to former Democratic chairwoman Fran Weisberg. What was that?
Oh, I tell you something like Fran Weisberg to go out and sacrifice the entire New York State Democratic Senate effort to try and defeat John Stanwyck was, she should be ashamed of herself, because she may win this race. It's going to be close going to absentee balloting, but she sacrificed an awful lot by pouring all the money into here and not going elsewhere. And I'm hopeful that John Stanwyck will pull it out.
Okay, it was a district drawn for him, or a Republican, we should say.
Well, it certainly was a Republican district, but I think Mary Ellen Jones, everyone said she's, this humble school teacher, but what she was, she took John Stanwyck's record, distorted it to the people, tried to buy the race, and hopefully we'll be able to pull it out in the absentee ballots.
Okay, overall, a very good night for you, Steve. Thanks for standing by with us, and Don, they are celebrating here.
Okay, Jenny Ryan with the Republicans and their chairman, and cause for celebration for Bob King as well, as he now has a Republican legislature which he can deal with for the next couple of years. I want to take a look at some other races in the state assembly now. In the 131st assembly district, Susan John returning to Albany, 58% of the vote. She's been there since 1991. In the 132nd Assembly District, Joseph Morelli also returning. He's been there since 1991, the old seat held by Penny Cook. In the 133rd District, David Gant, 86% of the vote, and he's been in the Assembly since 1983 and will stay there as well. 134th State Assembly District, Joseph Robach, the seat held by his father, and he will continue now, actually being the first time he's been elected to that. His father passed away, Roger Robach, in 1991. In the 135th State Assembly District, James Alessi winning a primary fight and going on now to be elected with 68% of the vote. 136th Assembly District, Jerry Johnson, your winner, 50% of the vote over Walsh and Nagel. He's the Nunde supervisor, been the Nunde supervisor for 7 years down there. In the 137th District, Charles Nesbitt is your winner. Remember the Albion Town Board, 56% of the vote. And those wrap up our state assembly districts. We should have been probably keeping a little better tabs on how the state is breaking down and with the redistricting and how that is going statewide. That's going to be interesting to see, because we really kind of shifted most of our attention onto the Republicans in the county legislature tonight.
Well, it's hard to know at this point unless we were getting the statewide figures. Actually, out of if you look at the figures, out of 195 incumbents running for re-election, 141 of them were uncontested, so it's pretty easy to predict who's going to win in those races. I don't expect much turnover in New York State politics. If one or two seats turn over in either one of the legislative bodies, that's considered an enormous change in a politics that really has stacked very heavily for the incumbents over the years. New York State has one of the highest incumbency return records of any state in the United States. It's really quite a remarkable achievement. It exceeds what we've done for Congress. And it's largely as a result of the way the districts have been written and the kind of special privileges that the incumbents give each other.
I want to take a look at the Jobs Bond Act. I'm trying to get it up on my computer here if I can get it, because I know it's going down to defeat. And we'll get back to those figures in just a moment. But the Jobs Bond issue.
The split that we have on the Jobs Bond issue is 54% no statewide, with approximately 35% of the precincts being counted. I think that the people in Albany don't understand that they're going to have to give a much better explanation for bonds in the future The state's got a very heavy bond debt right now. It's in the $24 billion range. This would have added almost another $1 billion to it. It wasn't clear that Monroe County or the upstate areas were going to benefit from it. I think we've got a very difficult time passing these bond issues.
In the state Senate race right now, Patrice Walsh is standing by with the winner, and Bill Dollinger will join her right now at the Democratic headquarters. Patrice?
Hi, Don. I'm with Rick Dollinger. A busy guy tonight. A lot of congratulations to you. Good race for you, Rick.
Thank you. It's fascinating. I'm both exhilarated and exhausted, and frankly, it's been a great day.
Ralph Quattrocchi did better than expected. What do you think led to that?
Well, Ralph has good name recognition. He's been an incumbent senator for the last 8 years, and I think he demonstrated that he had good name recognition and that a number of people were going to vote for him. So I was surprised by Ralph's result, but frankly, I'm exhilarated by the result.
What do you think won it for you in the end?
I think it was an issues race. I think we demonstrated that jobs and the issue of choice were going to be critical for the future of this state. So I'm pleased that
You hear it?
I think so. I do. It's a wonderful night. It's a wonderful night throughout the country.
What's your first thing you're going to do in Albany?
Hopefully we're going to have to look at the jobs issue. I don't know what the final totals were on the jobs bond act, but the jobs issue is going to be critical for the future, and we're going to have to work on that.
Congratulations to you, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Rick Dollinger, again, the winner in that Senate race. He's a busy man. He's heading off right now to do something else. Don,
okay, you may want to catch up with him, tell him that jobs issue is being defeated right now, and we'll let you to catch up. Richard Dollinger winning in the 54th State Senate District. Wanda Miller standing by now. Republicans taking back the Monroe County Legislature, and Wanda has been following that particular segment all night long.
Don, the question is being asked, how could the Democrats have lost the county legislature? Republicans will tell you that they fought the good fight, that they put the money for the first time in a long time behind their candidates, and that perhaps there was a coattail effect because of Bob King, the county manager. We have a shift, if you will, a complete flip-flop in the county legislature. Republicans 16 seats unofficially to the Democrats 13 seats. There are happy days again in the Monroe County legislature. Let's take a look now, if we can, at a map of the Monroe County districts. Okay, we're going to go to some of the races, key races that won it. Okay, Mark Assini won over William Gillette in the 4th. David Proud, a Democrat. He took that one. Renee Davison in the 8th district, 67% over John Vigiani. Carol Ellis, here's another key race that won it for the Republicans. The Republican winning here, 58% over War Boys, 42%. Carla Boyce, 56% over Joanne Ward's, 44%. This did it. Linda Goldstein, the Democrat, winning in Brighton. In the 15th, John Doyle, a big winner over Bridget Shumway, 56%, 44%, 100% districts reporting in. Arnold Eckert, really no surprise there. Nan Johnson winning over her opponent, Mark Ogden. Bill Benet looks like he will win with 92% in the 23rd district. Kevin Murray, president of the legislature right now, that is about to change. Willie Lightfoot winning in the 25th. These are just some of the races. This race here, I think we have the latest numbers down. The 26th County Legislature District, 15% we have of 19 districts in, and that is going to, at this point, go to Phil Fedeli, but that is not exactly the way it's going to be because we still have some districts. We had a map. We wanted to show you some of those very key races. Apparently, we don't have that map up right now. We wanted to show you a shading of how it went tonight. Again, these are unofficial results, but it looks like tonight that the Monroe County Legislature belonged to the Republicans.
Okay, Wanda Miller joining us in the newsroom, and again, thanks for your reports throughout the evening, keeping us up to date on the Monroe County Legislature. Just passing along some of the other races that we don't get to as often in the race for County Court. Charles Malloy and Nancy Smith are your winners tonight. In the race for State Supreme Court, as we mentioned, Charles Saragusa, Evelyn Frazee, and Paul Kehoe. And some of the town races, City School Board, the seat there for Jewel Gale Jones, Arundequite Town Council, Dan Arelli, Ogden Highway, Ed Marionetti, and East Rochester Justice Ralph Morabito. A lot of people live in those towns.
That's
they
right.
want to know the results of that race, and they'll wait here all night long waiting for them. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Frank's in love with a beautiful psychiatrist.
Not only do we have a great time, I'm finally able to sleep with my closet door open.
And Murphy thinks she's all wrong for him.
What a witch!
So Frank suggests a night out for Murphy and his girlfriend to get to know each other.
This is like a bad episode of the dating game, and I'm in it.
But will they get to know each other too well?
You took her to a male strip joint? She did a number with Zorro that brought the house down.
On the next Murphy Brown.
Murphy Brown, tomorrow at 7:30, only on 13.
Know something? You're my kind of dancer.
No kidding.
You gotta hit the ground running. Better kick up dirt.
It's Truck Month at your local Ford dealer. That means big deals, big cash back, and big option savings on the #1 selling trucks in America. Save on the all-new redesigned Ford Ranger, the #1 sport utility Ford Explorer, and the best-selling pickup 15 years running, Ford F-Series. Get your biggest savings on America's tough trucks during Truck Month at your local Ford dealer.
At Chase, we celebrate the spirit of the American people.
Your name? Andropovich. Occupation?
They were tired. They were poor. They came from many lands, represented many cultures. Nearly half of our ancestors arrived at Ellis Island, which for us at Chase is a constant symbol of hope and opportunity. Chase reminds you that when we celebrate America, we celebrate the courage of the generations before us.
Our coverage continues. We're going to Democratic headquarters right now, and two celebrations underway. Louise Slaughter, Mary Ellen Jones, a very close race against John Stanwyck, so I'm not sure how much celebrating is going on right now, but let's see if Patrice Walsh can hear us out there, and we'll turn it over to her.
Hi, Don. We're right here. Mary Ellen Jones is just making her way up the stage to make her acceptance speech. Great race.
I feel very good about it. A lot of people stood behind me and helped me, and I just, don't even know who to thank first, but I think it proves that there is a place for an ordinary person in politics. And
you had some great odds you faced in this race, a person who'd been in office a number of years. How did you do it?
I think that's probably what was my advantage, that I think people are looking for a change, and they were looking for somebody who hasn't been in office a long time, and they think there might be a shot at something different, and I'm going to prove to them they were right.
You spent a lot of money. Was it worth it?
Well, standing here now, yes, I'd have to say it was.
What's the first thing you want to do?
I just said I think the reform. I want to join. I heard Susan John talking about it tonight, and I want to be part of that. I think there's major changes we all know that's needed, and I really want to be in on the beginning of that.
Congratulations, Mary
Ellen.
Ellen. Great race. Great race.
If you can grab her, I'm a little curious. Well, she's probably gone. John Stanwyck's making, if you can find out, maybe we'll get her reaction tomorrow. A lot of concern on his part that the absentee ballots, and there are quite a few, could make a difference in that race. And I see she got away from me now to make her remarks.
Yeah, we kind of grabbed her on the way to make her acceptance speech.
How about Louise Slaughter? Is she still
She's right here. I can get her. Louise!
Get her over there.
We're on live right now, Louise. How are you feeling right now? I know you told me before it's been a real tough race. You're glad it's over.
Oh, no, I just thought that the tone of most races was nasty, and I think we do owe people better than that. I'm personally grateful to the people who saw through it, but I certainly hope for better days in campaigning.
Is this your toughest race?
It was the meanest. I don't know that it was particularly the toughest. We had all the same good people working, the phone banks going all the time, and things going well. It was just, it's very difficult and very hurtful to see yourself always betrayed in a certain light as a it seems, as I've said somebody else before, for 18 months you're a fine human being and a great American, and then you're the scum of the earth. So you sort of have to get peeled a little bit like an onion. But I want to get back to work now, and very grateful for the chance.
Great race.
Thank you.
Louise Slaughter again, Don, a tough race for her, but she did pull it off, and she's feeling good, a little tired though.
Okay, and I know you and Jane have been working very hard at Democratic headquarters all through the night. We want to thank you for your coverage. I'm not sure we'll get back to wrap things up with you or not. You were going to ask Louise a question, and I'm not, obviously can't pass it along, but I want to share your thought on that particular race, and
we
it's
have
closer than I think
the
a lot
race
of
at
people thought.
55-45 right now, and that makes the race considerably closer than I think probably anybody expected it to be. In terms of resources, she had substantially greater resources than Polito. She ran a good deal more advertising than Polito did. In a district that was more favorable to her than the previous district had been, I think, from an electoral standpoint. This 55-45 win is not anywhere near as deterring as a 60-40 race might have been.
Okay, Doug and Ginny, some final thoughts now as we go out to Republican headquarters, where they have been all night long.
Mostly good news here tonight, I think, Don.
Don, the Republicans are back in power for the first time since 1986. They hold the top position and they hold the legislature. They got what they paid for. The key race, the fourth one in Gates, they paid $20,000, an unprecedented amount, and they got what they paid for. They won the race, and that was what they were hoping for. They won 3 seats, and they won back the power.
And on the downside here tonight, I think the Stanwix race, Don, as you said, John Stanwix has not conceded yet. About 7,000 absentee ballots to be counted. Last spread we saw was about 3,000 vote plurality for Mary Ellen Jones. So it's not over yet, but certainly from what we just saw from Patrice, it looks like the Democrats are claiming victory there.
And thank you both for your coverage tonight from Republican headquarters, Doug Evans and Ginny Ryan. And of course, the Republicans, as they said, celebrating the retaking of the Monroe County Legislature. It's been, I'm trying to think how many years now since Lou Morin was there and had at first a county majority, and then he had to face some Democrats, as I recall.
That's right. He had Democrats for the last 2 years, and of his administration. It's really a very difficult thing to have that kind of a split in a body like the one we have here, and I think Bob King's going to find his life eminently improved dramatically over the next 2 years.
Okay, I want to take a look at some other numbers, and we're going to get some other final thoughts. U.S. Senate right now, Al D'Amato and Bob Abrams, and this is narrowed just a little bit, about 85% of the vote in, but Al D'Amato still holding on. This is statewide, 51% to 49%. Al D'Amato did very well. I recall the local figures, about 55 to 45% a while back. Now, this is a little narrower than it was earlier, but it looks like he's holding on to that across the state.
Well, he's pulled an upset, given where he started from and given where he was a few weeks ago. It's quite an upset victory. I'm not sure, however, that we know yet exactly what the basis for it was. I think one of the things people should look at is the fall off from the presidential campaign down to the Senate campaign. A great many people did not vote on this race. Probably more people didn't vote on this race than at any time in recent years, simply because they didn't like the way the race was run, and they didn't like either of the choices they were afforded. You know, this race had a candidate in it who was a credible conservative or a third-party candidate. Could have been a very interesting race from the standpoint of the potential upset. This is the kind of race that we saw Buckley win against Ottinger and Goodell some years ago.
Not many will admit it, but I'm sure a lot of us looked down and wondered about Muhammad somebody. He was way down, and you looked and you went, I don't know.
Well, I'll be willing to wager that the Libertarian candidate tomorrow shows up as having a 3, 4, 5% of the vote in the state. I think you're going to see some very unusual things, and we're not picking it up on our machine, so we don't know what those secondary vote candidates got.
Muhammad, how he did. Jane Flash, Patrice Walsh have been at Democratic headquarters all night, and we want to get some final thoughts from them.
Don, when you look at it here, it's been mixed results for local Democrats, but I think what people are really dwelling on tonight is all the positive things. They've won some big races, from the country's top race right on down to Louise Slaughter, to Mary Ellen Jones, who we just talked to before, and I think really that's what people are dwelling on. It's very upbeat here.
We saw some really tough campaigns on people. Louise Slaughter told me this has been one of the nastiest she's ever faced. She's glad it's over. Rick Dollinger faced really quite a challenge too from Ralph Quattrocchi. It was not expected. He didn't expect it anyway. So there are surprises even in races that you think are sure winners.
Again, the biggest surprise tonight is that the Democrats did lose control of the Monroe County Legislature. We will be hearing more about that in the weeks to come. But for now, we mentioned last time that the band hardly played last year. This year it hardly played, but mostly it's because there's been so much going on here. They didn't even get to the acceptance speeches until about 10 minutes ago, almost midnight.
Didn't have time to play this year, Don.
Is that where I heard Green Onions a little bit earlier? I think it was. That was the song. Thank you both for your coverage tonight from Democratic headquarters. And before we leave and sum up here, I want to thank Gordon Black as well for sharing your insight today.
Always
spoke
is.
at the Rochester Rotary Club earlier today. We had a chance to really talk about not only that, but your efforts to get a third party going in the United States. We've really looked at all the local races, I think, and there's not much point going over all of that again. The national outcome really not that unpredictable based on the polls. What about Ross Perot, though?
Well, I think the issue is not really Ross Perot at this point. It seems to me that the issue is that we've reached a fork in the road with regard to a practice that's now gone on for almost 3-4 decades. This country has been running up debt at a rate which is, in the long run, absolutely destructive to our way of life, to our children's future. And the question now is, for this administration, do they have the political fortitude to say no to the groups that keep asking for more subsidies of various kinds? Unless we do that, then we're going to continue down a road that I don't think is going to be very nice for any of us. I think that Ross Perot threw down a gauntlet and drew a line in the sand in a way we haven't seen in many years in American politics about the issue of the deficit, but it goes beyond the issue of the deficit. It's the way we run the government. It's the way we fund programs. It's the way we decide what our priorities are. There's something been wrong in the American system. The American people know that, but they haven't got a way yet really to articulate it. They didn't really like these candidates very much. They weren't too happy with this election. They weren't happy with the choices that they had. And so you look at this election and say, well, it was not a very pleasant election. But on the other hand, I think it's the beginning of a different direction for this country. Not just because Bill Clinton got elected, but because there's a growing realization in this country that something deeply has to be done to straighten out the situation that we have at all levels of government with regard to spending money.
We mentioned we've heard from Ross Perot, we've heard from President Bush. We have not heard, and as we rejoin the network in just a moment, we are still awaiting Bill Clinton's acceptance speech tonight. Just very quickly looking down some scattered notes. If we've missed anything before we leave you and turn you back to the network for the rest of the night. Charles Saragosa, Evelyn Frazee, and Paul Kehoe for that state Supreme Court race. Bill Dollinger did defeat Tracy Long and Ralph Quattrachaki. Charles Malloy, Nancy Smith for County Court. Mary Ellen Jones, John Stanwyck's very close race there, and the absentee ballots may decide the outcome. Louise Slaughter winning re-election. Bill Paxton, John LaFaltz. Mike Mazzolio winning a state Senate seat, and the jobs issue was defeated. Jewel Gale Jones elected to the Rochester School Board, and the Monroe County Legislature now at least a 16-13 majority for the Republicans. Again, my thanks to you.
Thank you
for being with us tonight. Our thanks to Wanda Miller for keeping a very close watch on the Monroe County Legislature throughout this evening, to Jane Flash and Patrice Walsh and all of their support team out at the Democratic headquarters, Doug Embledge and Ginny Ryan at Republican headquarters, and again, those behind the scenes, Jim Bremen, Vita Beasley, others, our entire photography staff that made this a very successful election night for us. That's our coverage of the 92 votes. Stay with ABC, though, for Bill Clinton's acceptance speech and more as the 92 vote continues.